On my 35th birthday, a package arrived with my dead grandfather's name on it. Inside was a letter, a sealed envelope, and instructions that said, "Open only when you're alone." When my mother saw what it was, her face went white. She tried to rip everything from my hands, screaming that it didn't belong to me. I didn't know it yet, but that package was about to expose decades of lies, buried family secrets, and the real reason I'd always been treated like a stranger in my own family. Growing up, I thought I was the black sheep. My younger sister, Christine, was the favorite. Blonde, popular, everything my parents hoped for in a daughter. I was the quiet one, the studious one, the girl who got perfect grades but never received praise. When Christine failed math, she got a private tutor and words of encouragement. When I won a full scholarship to college, my mother just said, "Well, at least you won't cost us money." My paternal grandfather, William Harrison, was different. He'd built a billion-dollar empire from nothing, started with a small construction company in the 1960s, and turned it into one of the largest real estate development firms on the East Coast. He was stern, demanding, but with me, he always had this special attention. When I was 8, he'd take me to his office and let me sit in his huge leather chair. "One day you'll understand business better than all of them," he'd say, pointing at my uncles and my own father in meetings. My mother hated it. She always made excuses for why I couldn't visit Grandpa William. "He's busy," she'd lie. "He doesn't want to be bothered with children today." But I'd find out later that Christine had spent the entire afternoon with him, getting expensive gifts and being spoiled. When I was 16, something changed drastically. Grandpa William stopped calling me, stopped inviting me to lunches, stopped showing up at my high school basketball games. At a family party, I tried to approach him, and he looked at me with this cold expression I'd never seen before. "You've grown up," he said, and walked away. I was confused, hurt. I spent years trying to figure out what I'd done wrong. I remember one night, sitting on my bedroom floor, staring at old photos of me and Grandpa William, at his office, at birthday parties, at the aquarium he took me to when I was 10. In every picture, he was looking at me with such warmth, such pride. And then it all just stopped. I cried that night, not understanding how someone could love you one day and become a stranger the next. My mother found me with the photos spread around me and said something I'll never forget. "Sometimes people realize you're not what they thought you were. Maybe he just sees you clearly now." Those words haunted me for years. Years later, in college, I met David. He was kind, hardworking, came from a humble family. My parents hated him immediately. "You can do better," my mother said when I announced our engagement. "He has nothing to offer." I married him anyway, against their wishes. The ceremony was small. Grandpa William didn't even show up. He sent a generic card with $100 inside, like I was some distant acquaintance. 20 years passed. I built a solid, simple life. David and I have a 12-year-old daughter, Emma, who inherited my determination and her father's gentle heart. I worked as an office manager, David as a civil engineer. We weren't rich, but we were happy. My family rarely called, except when they needed something. 6 months ago, Grandpa William passed away. He was 92. The funeral was grand, hundreds of people, expensive flowers, pompous speeches. My father cried like he'd lost a saint, though I knew they barely spoke in recent years. Christine showed up in black Chanel, crying performatively. I stood in the back, holding Emma's hand, feeling a strange, hollow sadness. During the service, they played a slideshow of his life. Photo after photo of him with the family, with Christine, with my cousins, with everyone except me. There were a few pictures when I was very young, maybe 5 or 6, but nothing after that. It was like I'd been systematically erased from his history. Emma squeezed my hand and whispered, "Why aren't you in any of the pictures, Mom?" I told her they probably just picked random ones, but I knew better. Someone had curated that slideshow carefully. Someone wanted to make sure everyone knew where I stood in the family hierarchy, at the very bottom, barely worth remembering. The reading of the will was a week later. I wasn't invited. I found out by accident when Christine posted on Facebook a photo of herself toasting champagne with the caption, "Unexpected blessings. Grandpa knew who really cared." Later I learned he'd left millions to my uncles, a fortune to my father, a generous amount even to Christine. For me, nothing, not even a mention. It hurt more than I expected. It wasn't about the money, it was about being forgotten, erased, like I'd never existed to him. David consoled me, saying inheritances destroy families anyway. Emma asked why her great-grandfather didn't like me. I didn't know what to answer. And then, on my 35th birthday, the package arrived. It was a regular Tuesday. David had left early for work. Emma was at school. I was working remotely when the doorbell rang. A courier held a large, polished wooden box, heavy with bronze details. It looked antique, expensive. "Delivery for Sarah Mitchell?" he said, checking the signature. I signed, confused. The box had a red wax seal, intact. I carried it to the dining table and stared at it for several minutes before opening. The weight of it felt significant, not just physically, but emotionally. There was something final about that red wax seal, like once I broke it, there would be no going back. My hands hovered over it for what felt like forever. Part of me wanted to call David, to have him come home, to not face whatever this was alone. But something in me knew this was meant for me, just me. So I pressed my thumb against the seal and broke it. The wax crumbled like old blood. Inside, wrapped in navy blue velvet, was a leather envelope engraved with the initials W.H., William Harrison. My heart raced. Below the envelope was a folded letter, heavy cream paper, handwritten in that elegant, old-fashioned handwriting I recognized immediately. "My dear Sarah," the letter began. "If you're reading this, it means I survived long enough to be certain I was right about you. And it also means I'm gone, so I can finally tell the truth I promised never to reveal while I was alive. You always wondered why I pushed you away when you were 16. It wasn't because you did anything wrong. It was because I discovered something terrible, something your mother begged me never to tell. She threatened to sue me, destroy the family, tarnish the Harrison name if I tried to get close to you again. Sarah, you are not your father's biological daughter. Your mother had an affair when she was married to my son. The man was Richard Pemberton, a corporate lawyer who worked for my company. When she discovered the pregnancy, she did everything to hide it. She convinced my son you were his. I only found out when Richard came to me, years later, consumed with guilt, wanting to establish a trust fund for you without anyone knowing. I had a DNA test done discreetly. The results confirmed it. I confronted your mother. She denied it, screamed, threatened. She said if I told you or my son, she'd destroy the company with false sexual harassment lawsuits against me and other executives. She said you'd suffer more knowing the truth, that it was better for me to protect you by keeping my distance. I was a coward, Sarah. I should have fought, but I was afraid of the scandal, of losing my company, my reputation, so I agreed to stay away from you, as long as she stopped blackmailing me. But I never stopped watching you. I followed your life from afar, your graduation, your marriage, Emma's birth. You built something real, honest, something none of them ever managed to do. You're more Harrison than any of them, even without my blood. Now with my death, the blackmail ends. Inside the sealed envelope are the DNA test results, documents from your mother's affair, and something else. Something that will change everything. Open it only when you're alone. Don't trust anyone in the family until you've read everything. And Sarah, don't feel sorry for me. Feel proud of who you became despite them. With love and eternal respect, Grandpa William. My hand trembled so much I almost dropped the letter. I read it twice, 3 times. The words didn't make sense. They couldn't be true. I wasn't. The floor seemed to tilt. I sat heavily in the chair, the sealed envelope still in my hand. Before I could process anything, the doorbell rang again. It was my mother. She walked in uninvited, like she always did. "I need to talk to you," she said, her eyes fixed on the wooden box on the table. I quickly hid the letter and envelope inside the box, closing the lid. "Mom, what a surprise! You never call before showing up." She ignored the comment. "I got a call from your grandfather's law office. They said a delivery was made to you today. An important delivery." Her voice was tense, almost desperate. "So what?" I crossed my arms, my heart still racing. "Sarah, whatever's in that box isn't for you. There was a mistake. William was senile in his last months, didn't know what he was doing." He seemed pretty lucid in the letter. Her face went pale. "You read it?" "Of course I read it. It's addressed to me." She took a step forward, hands extended. "Give me that, now. It's none of your business." Something in me broke. Years of being diminished, ignored, treated as less. None of my business? The letter is about me, about who I really am. Her eyes widened, pure terror. "He told you that I'm not Dad's daughter?" "Yes, he told me." She made a strangled sound. "That miserable old man, he promised never to tell." "Why did you do it?" My voice trembled. "Why did you lie all these years?" "Because I had to," she screamed, tears running down her face. "Your father, my husband, he never would have stayed with me if he knew. I would have lost everything, the house, the life, the status, and you would have grown up knowing you were a mistake, a shame. So instead I grew up thinking I was inadequate, that I'd never be good enough, that my own grandfather rejected me for no reason. He rejected you because I asked him to protect you." "Protect? You robbed me, robbed my relationship with him, robbed my identity, robbed my place in the family." She wiped her tears roughly, her face hardening. "It doesn't matter what's written there. You can't tell anyone. This would destroy your father, destroy Christine, destroy this family." "What family, Mom? The one that always treated me like I was invisible? The one that excluded me from the will?" She fell silent, then changed tactics. Her voice became soft, manipulative. "Sarah, think about Emma. Do you want your daughter to know that her grandmother is a liar? A blackmailer?" She flinched as if she'd been slapped. "Give me the sealed envelope. Whatever it is, you don't need to see it. We can burn it. Forget all this." "No?" "Sarah!" "Get out of my house, now." For a moment, I thought she would refuse. Then, with a sudden movement, she tried to grab the box. I pulled it away before she could reach it. "If you open that envelope," she hissed, "I swear I'll make you regret it. I'll tell everyone you're unstable, that you're having a breakdown, that you're making up stories. No one will believe you. Leave." She stood there, breathing hard, then turned and left, slamming the door hard enough to make the pictures on the wall shake. I waited until I heard her car pull away. Then, with my hands still trembling, I opened the sealed envelope. Before we continue, I want to hear from you. What would you do in this situation? Would you open that envelope knowing it might destroy your entire family? Drop the word truth in the comments if you'd open it, or the word peace if you'd burn it and move on. And if you're not subscribed yet, hit that button now. This story is about to get even more intense. Inside were 3 documents. The first was the DNA test result, black and white, impossible to deny. Probability of paternity with my father? 0%. A second test showed compatibility with Richard Pemberton, 99.9%. The second document was even more shocking. A series of printed emails between my mother and Grandpa William's lawyer dated 16 years ago. In them, she explicitly threatened to create false sexual harassment accusations against Harrison Company executives if William tried to tell me the truth or establish any kind of relationship with me. There were even drafts of press releases she'd prepared, ready to be sent to newspapers if he didn't cooperate. My stomach turned. This woman who raised me was a stranger. The third document made me stop breathing. It was a will, a true will, private, separate from the one that had been read publicly, dated just 2 months before Grandpa William's death. I, William Harrison, being of sound mind, declare that the will read publicly was a necessary farce to protect my true heir. I leave the entirety of my personal fortune, estimated at $47 million, separate from company assets, to Sarah Mitchell, formerly Sarah Harrison, my granddaughter of heart, if not of blood. This inheritance is protected in an irrevocable trust, managed by my personal attorney, Marcus Chen of the firm Chen & Associates. The trust was established in secret, outside any public documents, specifically to avoid contests. Sarah will receive access to the funds on her 35th birthday. Until then, the trust will accumulate interest and be managed to maximize its value. I also establish a separate fund of $5 million for Emma Mitchell, Sarah's granddaughter, to be accessed when she turns 18. None of this should be revealed to my family until Sarah has full access to the funds. They don't deserve to know. They don't deserve anything from me. Attached to the will was a business card, Marcus Chen, with a direct phone number, and a handwritten note. Call me today after 2 p.m. I'm already expecting your call. Happy birthday, Sarah. I looked at the clock. 1:47. I sat on the couch, documents scattered around me, trying to process. $47 million, almost $50 million, for me. It wasn't about the money. It was about validation. He hadn't forgotten me. He never stopped caring. He was just waiting, planning, making sure I had something no one could take away. I thought about all those years I spent believing I was worthless to him, all those nights I cried wondering what I'd done to lose his love. And the whole time, he was protecting me in the only way he knew how. He was building me a future they couldn't touch, couldn't control, couldn't take away. The man everyone thought was cold and calculating had spent the last 16 years of his life making sure his granddaughter, the one who wasn't even his blood, would be taken care of. I started crying then, not from sadness, but from something deeper. Relief, maybe, or grief for all the time we lost, or gratitude for a love I never knew existed. At 2:01, I dialed the number. Marcus Chen answered on the first ring. Sarah Mitchell? Yes. Happy birthday. I imagine you've read everything. I have. And I also imagine your mother already showed up. How did you know? He laughed without humor. William warned me she'd do that. He knew her too well. Sarah, I have good news. The trust is active. The funds are transferred. You have full access now. I can send the papers by courier today, or would you prefer to come to the office? I need time to think. I understand perfectly, but there's something you need to know. Your father, the man who raised you, doesn't know anything. William wanted to spare him too. The question is, will you tell him? I had no answer for that. Think carefully, Sarah, and when you decide, call me. I'm here for anything you need. I hung up and stared at the ceiling. Emma would arrive from school in 2 hours. David would be back from work at 6. I had that time to decide what to do with information that could destroy or rebuild everything. In the following days, my life turned upside down. My mother called 17 times, sent messages, emails, even showed up at my house again. I didn't open the door. David finally asked what was happening. I told him everything. He was silent for 10 full minutes, then hugged me and said, "It doesn't matter whose DNA it is. You're you. And does this change anything for me?" Nothing. Zero. Emma was harder. How do you explain to a 12-year-old that the family she knew was built on lies? We decided to wait. She'd know when she was ready. Marcus Chen helped me structure everything. The $47 million was invested, planned, protected. We created a fund for Emma, another for charity, another for security. I didn't tell anyone in the family. Not yet. 2 weeks after my birthday, there was a family meeting. Christine was engaged, she announced in the WhatsApp group, and wanted to celebrate with everyone who really matters. Clearly, it wasn't an invitation for me, but my mother insisted I go. "We need to talk," she wrote, "as a family." I went, but not alone. I brought Marcus Chen with me. My parents' house was full. Uncles, aunts, Christine radiant with her absurd engagement ring, my father at the barbecue. When I walked in with Marcus, my mother went pale. "Sarah, what is he doing here?" "Marcus is my lawyer. I thought it would be appropriate, considering we have legal matters to discuss." My father approached, confused. "What matters? What is she talking about?" My mother tried to intervene, but Marcus was faster. "Mr. Harrison, there's information about your father's inheritance that wasn't publicly disclosed. Information that directly affects Sarah." Everyone stopped. The yard went silent. "What information?" my father asked. I looked at my mother. She was trembling. "No," she whispered. "Sarah, please." "William Harrison left a private inheritance," Marcus said, ignoring her. $47 million in an irrevocable trust for Sarah Mitchell. The will was authenticated, witnessed, and is completely legal. Sarah gained access to the funds 2 weeks ago. Absolute silence. Christine was the first to react. $47 million? For her? That's impossible. Grandpa only left me $2 million. $2 million is more than most people see in a lifetime, Marcus replied calmly. "But why her?" Christine screamed, pointing at me like I was trash. "She wasn't even his favorite. He didn't even talk to her." "Maybe because I didn't expect anything," I said, finding my voice. "Maybe because I built my life without depending on his money. Maybe because he knew I wouldn't waste it on designer bags and sports cars." "This is ridiculous," my father yelled. "There has to be a mistake. I'm his son." Marcus pulled documents from his briefcase. "There's no mistake. Everything is here, properly recorded. William was very clear about his intentions." My mother finally exploded. "This is all your fault," she screamed at me. "You manipulated him. You were always sneaky, always wanting attention. You—" "Stop." My voice came out low but firm. "I didn't manipulate anyone, unlike you." She froze. "Want to tell them, Mom? Or should I?" "Don't you dare." "Tell us what?" my father asked, looking between us. I took a deep breath. "That I'm not your biological daughter." The world stopped. My father blinked, as if he hadn't understood the words. "What?" "My mother had an affair. Grandpa William found out when I was 16. He did a DNA test. I'm not a Harrison by blood." My mother made a strangled sound. Christine's mouth fell open. My uncles murmured among themselves, shocked. My father looked at my mother, waiting for denial. "Is this true?" She didn't answer. She didn't need to. The silence confessed everything. 20 years? He whispered. "You made me believe?" I protected you, she screamed. Protected you from knowing. Protected this family. You protected yourself, I said. And you blackmailed Grandpa William so he'd stay away from me. So I'd grow up thinking I wasn't loved, that I wasn't good enough, all to hide your secret. Christine was crying now, not from sadness, but from anger. So you're not even really my sister, and still you got all the money? William left me the money because he knew I'd never ask for it, I said calmly, because he saw who I really am, something none of you ever bothered to see. My father sank into a chair, face in his hands. My mother tried to approach him, but he waved her away. I grabbed my purse. Marcus will explain the legal details if anyone has questions, but I'm not here to justify myself or apologize. I'm here so you know you don't owe me anything anymore, and I don't owe you anything. As I walked toward the gate, I heard Christine's voice behind me, shrill and desperate. You can't just walk away. You can't just destroy everything and leave. But I didn't turn around. For the first time in my life, I kept walking. I heard my father's voice then, quiet but clear, cutting through Christine's hysteria. Let her go. And something in those 3 words felt like the first honest thing he'd ever said about me. Not anger, not defense, just exhaustion and maybe, finally, understanding. The gate clicked shut behind me and I realized I was smiling. Not from cruelty or revenge, but from freedom. Pure, weightless freedom. I left that house for the last time. 6 months have passed. We moved to a bigger house, not for show, but for space. Emma has a room with perfect natural light for drawing. David reduced his work hours and is finally writing that book he always wanted. I used part of the money to create a foundation in Grandpa William's name, scholarships for young people from dysfunctional families who want to go to college but don't have family support. The first class of scholars has 15 students. One of them reminds me so much of myself at 18 that sometimes it hurts to look at her. My father called me once, 3 months ago. He apologized, said he was divorcing my mother, that he needed time to process everything. He asked if we could have lunch someday. I said maybe. I haven't scheduled it yet. Christine blocked me on everything. I heard the engagement ended. I don't feel satisfaction about that, just sadness for everything that could have been different. My mother tried to sue me, claiming the will was invalid. Marcus destroyed the case in 2 weeks. She lost, paid the legal costs, and now lives in a small apartment, working part-time at a boutique. I don't feel sorry. I feel nothing. Sometimes I still take out the leather envelope with the initials WH and reread his letter. Don't feel sorry for me. Feel proud of who you became despite them. I do, Grandpa. I do. So, what do you think? Did I do the right thing by exposing all the family secrets? Or should I have kept everything to myself and maintained the peace? And more importantly, can you imagine discovering something like this on your birthday? Leave your opinion in the comments. I love reading what you think about these stories. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. There are many more emotional stories coming, and you won't want to miss the next one. See you then.